The police understood the deep concern and distress the killings brought to their families and residents of Kware and fellow Kenyans, and say the probe will be finalized in the next 21 days. To ensure a fair and unbiased investigations, Kanja also directed that all police officers from Kware police station be transferred. Members of the public have disputed the figures, saying more bodies have been retrieved from the dump site. Some of the locals even threatened journalists by claiming that they were deliberately misleading the public over the number of bodies. And even tomorrow, there is a posting circulating Occupy Media as far as the whole issue is concerned. The DCI boss, however, warned that due to the huge number of people visiting the dump site, some of them very hostile, the scene had substantially been disturbed, and the detectives may get some challenges collecting evidence. According to Amin, the bodies were at different levels of decomposition, but victims suffered equal fate. The detectives from the Homicide Detectives Department, the Homicide Detective the department, have also recorded statements from various witnesses, including the family of Josephine Owino, who claim to have a dream that led to the search of her, her relative in the dump site. Owino is said to have gone missing about 2 weeks ago. Now in studio, I'm joined by an all-women panel. That is Honorable Njeri Maina, Kirinyaga County MP, Vivian Tar, Communications and Public Affairs expert, and as well Neema Sheikh. She is a youth leader. Thank you so much for creating time this morning. And just to begin with Neema Sheikh, with what has been happening at Kware, the killings, the numbers, still not clear. Others say it's 9. There's, according to the police, according to Amnesty International, about 13. And according to the residents, more than 15. What do you make of these? All women actually being, the bodies actually being all women.
Okay, thank you so much, Chacha, for inviting me. The killings of Kware can be part of a cult or, you know, part of a organ harvesting scheme. We don't know what really happened and transpired, yeah? But it's an evidence of what is happening in this country behind the scenes. And I mean, how is it possible that people are getting killed and dumped in a quarry, yet there is a police station near the area? You understand? So these are issues that narrow down to corruption. Maybe the police station was even aware of the things that were happening. So we need the DCI and the government of Kenya to bring to books those who have been involved. I mean, this is worse than terrorism, because you know, terrorists, they normally go for vulnerable people, the women and the young people of this nation. So this is worse than terrorism, and we shall not tolerate it in our country. We need the government to bring these people to books. Yeah.
Honorable Njeri Maina, thank you so much for creating time. The Kware, you know, bodies, more than, let's say 10, having been found there, all women. You are a county member of parliament representing women. How does this, you know, come out to you? How do you feel about it?
My heart breaks at the loss of life, and especially targeting women. So whoever killed these women was specifically targeting women, and young women for that matter, because you've said the age is between 18 and 30. And also there's an issue of credibility of our media, credibility of our investigative bodies, because if the locals are saying that bodies are more than are being reported, and then the media is saying that the bodies are this number, and the investigation bodies are saying the bodies that were recovered at this number. So I think there's, let us not cover up these issues, because they only create more discomfort and pain for the public, and feeling that maybe perhaps the government is not being clear. If you remember the Shakahola massacre, you know, we had it reported for days and then everything went AWOL. I mean, we have not even been told up to this point publicly what happened, what was happening there. And it's quite unfortunate because most of the victims were also women. So we need to know what is happening. 21 days for me is a very long time. A long wait for the families who have lost their loved ones, who now have to actually wait another 21 days to be told what happened to them. I believe we should also have a public portal where members of the public can access and report missing persons, because by the time killings of such an extent are happening, when we have the police, the NIS, the DCI, something must be amiss. And if you recall well, when it was reported about Shakahola, it was said that the police station that was within the vicinity, the people who were killing the women and the children there. Because corruption is so deeply rooted in our society that we lack even the basic respect for human life. We'll give it away for any little money changing hands. So we must know what happened. Why did the investigative bodies fail us? Why is NIS failing us? Why is the DCI failing us? Because we are the ones who failed those women as a government. And we must be responsible enough to ensure we fast track those investigations and give the country a clear report on what happened in Kware.
And now to Vivian Tar. You know, Honorable Njeri Maina has brought out the issue of the Shakahola. It has never been clear what really transpired. And now we have the Kware deaths. You know, women, bodies recovered from that particular scene. And despite the country having allocated much monies to the security agencies, is it fair to Kenyans?
I want to start by saying, first of all, my condolences to all the affected families and people who've lost their friends, their loved ones from this incident. It's very sad. For me, I feel cheated. I feel cheated because it seems like it's very easy for police to track down so-called protesters and people who don't agree with government, break down gates, break down doors, arrest people from their homes, abduct them incognito, hold them incognito, incommunicado. But when a normal Kenyan, is going through something like this, nobody seems to, take it seriously. I just feel like as a nation, as a government, basically, Kenya, our priorities are misplaced. One life lost is too many. And, the right to life is entrenched in our constitution. Part of the government's role to every Kenyan is to protect lives and property of Kenyans. And this mandate is, I think, directly under the security agencies that we have, which is, of course, Kenya Police, National Intelligence Services, the DCI. So how is it that cases of just the well-being and the lives of ordinary Kenyans are not given priority, but cases that, don't really impact so much on everyday Kenyans are given a lot of, resources? We saw the other day, or a few weeks ago, when they were arresting the former MP, Alfred Keter. There were more than 2-3 vehicles there. There were lots of security personnel just to arrest one person. So how is it we cannot preserve the lives of these people in Kware? And why is it that it is not easy for them to collect information and follow through and investigate and prosecute whoever is responsible? Because if anyone who's responsible for this right now should have been arrested, should have been, prosecution should have started already. So I really would want to see, moving forward, the judiciary working closely with, the security agencies so that justice is served. Because on many occasions in Kenya, there are lots of injustices and nothing ever happens. It makes people feel like there are no consequences to bad behavior. There are no consequences to criminal activity. As long as, you're not caught, you can get away with it. And that narrative needs to change. Even as we are saying we are changing how governance is done in Kenya, part of it should be about how we handle lives and property.
Well, Let's see what's on the Daily Nation this morning. There's on the cover page, police theories on city quarry deaths. 2 more bodies were fished out the quarry dump site yesterday, even as top detectives. The top detective, Mohammed Amin, said his officers are looking at various hypotheses, including the involvement of a serial killer, rogue medical practitioner, or cult activity. Since the victims, actually all women, were killed in a similar fashion and bodies are dumped at the same spot. Nemo, there is actually what we witnessed on Saturday, that Kenyans had to escort the police all the way to the city mortuary. Are we having a scenario that we don't even have faith in our, security agencies? And how then do we restore that?
Yeah, thank you. As my sister here said, that the police and the government has proven itself that they have resources to arrest a former member of parliament or a politician, so and so. But the people of this nation have lost faith in the police because of the things that were happening. For instance, during the protest, Gen Z protest, there was a lot of abductions. Yeah, so I feel like in this scenario, as we involve the government and the investigative authority and the DCI and all that, even the power belongs to the people, Chacha. So even the people should be present while these investigations are ongoing, because we don't have trust in this government and the police in general. And the resignation of the Inspector General was just a matter of time. It's a step one, change of the leadership and all that. So moving forward, I think people must be involved in this kind of processes.
Honorable Njeri Maina, the fact that, Kenyans appear to no longer have trust with the government of the day, with the recent, abductions, killings, could these have led to what we are now witnessing in terms of the trust deficit that is there with the investigations body? And how do we restore that? We understand, Japheth Koome resigned, if at all he resigned, because the other time President Ruto said that he had the DCI boss, that is the DCI boss had resigned, yet he had fired him. There was a contradiction. Not sure whether this one is still the same case. But Douglas Kanja is now in acting capacity. What should we expect from the police?
Unfortunately, I can't speak for Koome because I'm not privy to information whether he resigned or he was fired. But what I can say is that the trust issue between...
But George Kinoti was fired.
The trust issue, the trust issue between the Kenyan public and the enforcement agencies or security agencies in Kenya is not an issue that just came up. It's been a simmering issue over a long period of time. And I feel that if you recall the Mutara issue, the lady, the victim who actually succumbed to the gruesome murder had actually reported. So we are failing women, even in terms of investigation of GBV cases. At the local level, in Kirinyaga County, for example, every magistrate's court should have a GBV court, a court that is specially dealing with such reports and following up on the same. Because when we have a breakdown between the police, which is the investigative body, the judiciary, which is the enforcement agency of the law of the land, then we will continue having this conversation. And unfortunately, like my co-panelists have said, it will seem as if nothing is being done because we are missing the whole picture. The credibility issues, from my perspective, come from a point where Kenyans feel that the security agencies are not forthright with information. Because, like I've said, we do not know up to now what really happened in Shakahola, what was going on. Because the extent of such loss of human life that ran into hundreds is an issue of national concern that Kenyans have a right to know. And The Constitution of Kenya says that the public has a right to access information that is withheld by any state agency. So they're only creating room for propaganda. They're only creating room for more mistrust between the public and the security agencies. Going forward, I think we need to see a more credible form of information from the security agencies, starting with the DCI, the Kenyan police, the NIS, because at the end of the day, these issues concern us. And we also need to know, have those cases been reported before of missing persons? Why were they not investigated? Because people just don't disappear. I mean, a lot of these people live with family members. Some of them go to church. They have social activities that they go about. So there must be something that is, there's a missing link from where I stand. And it is our failure as a government, because we must give the Kenyan people the truth as it is.
Vivian, you know, this is not the first time we hear from the police or the DCI that they're going to investigate. How, or after conclusion of such investigations, should there be perhaps a press briefing on the same? And, you know, this comes amidst also concerns that there was a massacre in Githurai, and at least 400 bodies were cremated in one of the, you know, barracks, the army barracks. That has still not yet been verified. But President William Ruto at the helm of his government, how should he navigate this and restore the public confidence in his government in terms of matter security, abductions, etc., and as well, more specifically, in the security agencies?
I think the best way confidence can be restored is if there's transparency. Without transparency, propaganda will reign. Stories, you know, it will be difficult to know what to believe, what not to believe. And the way to be transparent is to share information, update the public, you know, very often on what's happening. So I feel in this instance, the government agencies, their handling of communication generally, but this has been the case even when the Kenya Kwanza government came to power. The communication has always not been the best. And you find that many times, even when things happen, the way it's relayed to the public doesn't come out in a transparent way or in a way that's easy for the public to trust that this information being shared is factual. So I think if I was to advise the president or just, you know, the leaders, the people who lead these security agencies, Kenyans just want to prosper. And if there are allegations about, you know, cremations, there are allegations about massacres, the way to do this is to start sharing information, start giving facts. You know, this is what happened, this is how we handled it. Because without transparency, nobody will trust them. And I feel like, especially for the police, for Kenya Police and just basically the security agencies, I think it's something we inherited from the colonialists. And then after independence, we never really transformed it into a security agency to serve, you know, Kenyans. And so since that time, since independence until now, there's always been mistrust and you know, just kind of friction between the public and the police. And so even when the police come and say, this is what is happening, we still don't believe it. So right now, I think the best way to go forward is to find out who are the affected families, how are they affected, how can the government come through for them, how do we make sure that something like this never happens again. I personally, just because of my knowledge of military and how they operate, I do not believe that the military would be involved in cremation of civilian bodies. I don't think that's how they operate. I don't think that's what their training or service is for. So but I would want to see the government come clean and clear the air about this so that the military is also vindicated. I saw during the protests how people were just happy, to see them on the street. And there was no, the friction that you normally witness with police, it wasn't there. It wasn't there with KDF, and the public seemed to trust the military more. So if there's any propaganda or any stories or any allegations where KDF is implicated, I would really want the government to make sure they clear the air, they come clean on this, because we do not need another, mistrust between the Kenyan military and now the public. We already have enough of that. Well,
we are due for a short commercial break, but Dan, just allow me to show our viewers what the Standard newspaper has. In the eye of the storm, this could be the toughest week for President William Ruto. As he faces an acid test, the Ministry of Women Bodies dumped inquiry. The discussion on broad-based cabinet takes center stage. The youth have called for another round of protest in spite of the talks to address their issues kicking off today. Many players, however, have given the multi-sectoral conversation a wide berth. That is on the Standard newspaper. Also, Kalonzo Taft's stand against a dialogue splits opinion, and on matters, of course, international news, that is the Trump heart in shooting incident. That is on the Standard. On the Star newspaper, Odinga, Uhuru hit in 156 billion Ruto new budget cuts. We will actually be touching on that after this short commercial break. But also on the Star newspaper is why conferment of degrees is on ice at Maseno. The pray for me to get the right people for the job. That is the President Ruto. ODM summons troops to discuss Ruto dialogue call. On the Taifa Leo, afadhali Ruto. That is kaka yake Raila ahimiza vijana wajisajili kwa wingi kupiga kura katika uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027 ili wamng'oe Ruto na serikali yake. That is what is on our dailies this morning. We take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be focusing on the supplementary budget 1 of the financial year 2024-2025. The conversation, the national dialogue, whether at all it will be taking place or not, and as well the road maintenance levy that has now been increased from 18 Kenya shillings to 25 Kenya shillings. Keep the conversation going via social media platforms at K24 Tv at Joel Chacha, as well on our SMS and WhatsApp numbers, and I'll be sampling some of them before wrapping up this show this morning. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Are you a church and seeking to